our presenter's child was ill, and so you know how babies come first, and that's why all our kids are grown, because otherwise we never left the house, right? So Kendra graciously has put together a program and is going to be our presenter for tonight.
Yay,
Here you
go.
Okay, bear with me because the last time I did this presentation, believe it or not, was 2002. My husband's like, do you realize that was 24 years ago, or 22 years ago? And I'm like, holy moly, Abe was a year old. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to kind of tell you my journey into quilting. And I started out when I was pregnant with Annika. I wanted to make a quilt, and I wanted to have a Noah's Ark quilt. And I went to the local Joann's, and a lady there asked me what I was doing, you know, what I was making, and I told her that I had just bought a sewing machine from Walmart, and she said, oh honey, you need to take that right back. And she was the president of our local quilt guild there, and those ladies taught me how to quilt. You will find in just a minute though that we moved before I learned how to bind. So I birthed all my quilts. Have y'all ever heard of that? Birthing? Well, the third quilt I ever made is called Peanut Butter Sandwiches for a Month. And that is because that is what my husband and oldest daughter ate. It was a 4 seasons quilt challenge. It was a 4 seasons quilt challenge. You were given 8 colors. You could choose 2 colors for each block. You could choose 2 additional colors for the block. So you have 8 colors, 2, 4, 6, 8. And then you had colors you could add to your block, 2 of each one. And then there were 3 colors. And then any embellishment was free. So that meant ribbon, thread, paint, whatever you did was free. So this is what my third quilt looks like. And it didn't exactly look like this because I've added colors to it. I took it apart as soon as I got home because I had to put it together with hot pink and blue jeans because I didn't have any fabric left. So I redid it. And this is what I came up with. So does someone kind of want to walk around with this? Yes. So I was really into Pooh Bear at the time. My kitchen was decorated in Pooh. I had painted a mailbox that looked like a bread box in my kitchen, and we had like jars that I had painted in there. I was very crafty, but didn't know I could quilt until this point in time. And I also decided, oh, I think that I can do that same thing and do cute little outfits for my kids. So I did little outfits with, this is Austin from the Backyardigans. So Annika is 25 now. So that was Austin from the Backyardigans. I've more recently done these for little gifts for friends that have had babies. I put a little something on the little butt. So when I first did Annika's dresses when she was little, I did a little duck, and then there was an egg on the butt. So I always did something kind of fun and surprising. But in doing that, my sister and I had a series of books that we really loved. And one of them was called Rumble in the Jungle. Have y'all ever heard of these? Mm-hmm. Okay. There's Rumble in the Jungle, Giraffes Can't Dance, Commotion in the Ocean, and Cock-a-doodle-doo, Barnyard Hullabaloo. And that book was my Annika's favorite book, and it's literally falling apart now. But what I want to show you all is how you can take a cute book and you can make what I call a storybook quilt. Oh, and I also wanted to point out that this same method, you don't have to make a character. You can make like a banner or something that says what you want it to say. So, here's happy birthday. So when my kids were younger, this would hang on the curtains above the dining room table, and that was pretty easy to do. So you can take...
How did you get the letters? Did you have a stencil, or how did you?
Okay, those letters I actually used my Cricut, but before that, I used to go to my computer and enlarge the letter as big as I could, and then I would trace it from that. So just make sure you have a nice bold font is what you want. So pretty easy. So even if you don't have a Cricut or something, you can always take your paperback fusible web and make something like that. Now I'm going to need a couple other people to help for a second.
We also have the letters in the AccuCutter, AccuQuilt, or whatever it's called.
You're going to notice that this quilt looks upside down, but it's not. Here, you can come over. I've got two of them. And I also, this is important, I also want to point out, this is the beginning of my quilt journey. This was Walmart fabric, and you can tell this was Walmart fabric. And that was 22 years ago. It has faded incredibly. This one is the Cock-a-doodle-doo Barnyard Hullabaloo. And on both of these, I want you to notice that, like the cow, sometimes I moo while I'm chewing. I hope you don't think that it's rude, but mooing and chewing are what I like doing. Do you moo when you chew your food? So, literally, we took this book and we made it where the kids could sit around and we could read them this book on this quilt. And then there are some elements of both, on both of these. This sun here is crochet. And over here, the jellyfish tendrils are also crochet. Those were crocheted by my grandmother, the kid's great-grandmother. So that was really special.
Really is special. Kendra, are you using Pigma pen for your writing?
No, that is all done with one strand of cross-stitch thread. Yeah, it's all one strand of cross-stitch thread. So we did a few different things. Like you'll notice here, the barn doors have AW. That was for Annika Wiggins. And I did the math. Can't believe I did. This is like, I barely remember doing this because y'all know I have brain damage. But I pieced this entire fence border, which I'm really proud of myself now because I'm like, wow, I'm not sure I could do that at this moment.
It's before you knew you didn't know, right?
Right, it really was. And then we decided the sashing in between here for the trees. The same thing on the other. These trees were like big fluffy trees. The other was more like jungle trees. So if you're interested, I'm going to walk you through how I do this. Okay. So nowadays, there's a lot more supplies that you can use that you couldn't back then because we didn't have them. mean, we had printers and such, but not many of them were color printers back then. And we didn't have really great light pads. So let me. Yes.
Can you put it up on the screen?
I'm trying to know.
There's music though.
Calming.
I thought it was nice having music for country now.
I have it the wrong direction now. I must be pressing something weird. My camera on the way, so you have a big accident.
Her first grandson.
You may be seeing this upside down, I'm not sure. Yeah, you're gonna see it upside down. But upside down's better than not at all, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's several different types of fusibles now. There's something called soft fuse. This is a paper-backed fusible web also for hand or machine appliquing. A lot of people tell me they really like this. This one, I don't have the logo on here, but this is Steam 2 Light. I've got good old Wonder Under right here. And then there's a new fusible called Flexi Fuse. Is this upside down or right side up? Or, okay, there's a new one called Flexi Fuse. With all of these, with the exception of Flexi Fuse, you use steam of some sort. You do not use steam at all with the Flexi Fuse. I don't know why, but it literally says a dry hot iron. And if you buy their kits, it says do not steam. So you have a couple of different options for a pressing mat or a pressing sheet, I guess. You can use Teflon. You can use the what is this called? The Fusimat or Fusimat. Yeah, it's kind of like a Silpat, but it's called a Fusimat. And if you're really desperate or you don't have the budget for it, you can also take the webbing off your Wonder Under, throw your webbing away, and just use the paper. Okay? Make sure you mark what side it came off of though, because if you start going to the wrong side, you'll regret it. So, there's also clear mats that you can get that are like this Teflon stuff, but I've had so much of this over the years, I figured I didn't need it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw out the gazelle, and I can't get these papers apart.
So
Makes me want to wrinkle them up like I do money. You'll ever have to do that? So let's do this one. We're going to be drawing this out, and the way I do this is, I'm probably wrong, but it works for me. I draw the entire body out. So I am going to trace every detail of this. Can y'all see me? Yep. Okay. So I'm going to trace every single area.
What are you tracing it on?
This is Wonder Under.
Okay.
It's probably my favorite. It's super cheap. It stays well. I don't have any problems with it. I can hand stitch through it if I want to. And I just really like it. What are some of your others, some of your all's favorite fusible webs?
Kendra,
Yes.
for the light box, I just bought one from Amazon, a 20-inch,
Mhm.
for $25.
Oh, nice.
Really?
Yeah.
With a light pair?
Yeah, and the light
The
is
light
good.
box.
How big is it?
20 inches.
Wow.
They're real thin now.
Yeah, they're very thin. And they
This
have
one
different
is a
degrees
Cricut
of
one
lights.
that I bought years ago. And I brought it with me because it's my smallest one. But you can kind of see here what I'm doing, just tracing along. And if you go to Dollar Tree, if you're lucky enough, they have the single individual Sharpie markers at $1.25. The two I went to today trying to find black ones were red and blue, but I wanted to show you that you can get actual Sharpie markers.
And also that kind of vinyl, you can't, aren't those used also in ovens? You can get them like that, like the brown piece of that one, you're right.
This?
Yeah,
Yeah, they also use them on grills
right,
sometimes.
right.
Mhm.
Could you use freezer paper for what you're doing?
You cannot use freezer paper. There is one step that we will use freezer paper. You can use parchment paper. So yeah, this is the other thing I forgot to show y'all, parchment paper. Okay? And then I don't draw all the details of the horns because I'm gonna make all the details of that with thread. Okay? And if this is something that you all would be interested